My name is Chris Murakami, and I work with the Demonstrating Community Agriculture, and it's a group of neighbors near the St. Joseph and Ash Street intersection where we basically try to grow community and grow good food together. Last year we depended on the rain, and we depended on overhand watering, which is really time intensive and in some cases is not necessarily the best choice for the health of the plants. And so that's kind of when we started talking about a drip irrigation system, which we were fortunate enough to get some support from our group and from the Community Garden Coalition to be able to install a drip irrigation system, which is more similar to what you would find in larger scale production agriculture. So the drip irrigation system, it's not as complicated as it may seem, and since we have most of our beds arranged in long rows, we're going to actually use drip tape. So we have a drip tape irrigation system. There are drip irrigation systems that have special emitters, and that's for more complex landscaping systems. But we have all of our crops arranged in a row, so we're going to have drip tape. But basically you have the tape that runs down in the beds, and it has holes where water comes out. In our case, it's every 8 inches, but there are other options where you get every 12 inches or every 6 inches. And that's hooked up to a 1/2-inch main line where you have the valves that tap into that 1/2-inch main line and run the length of our garden, which get connected to a pressure regulator, which will step down the pressure from about 50 or 70 psi, which is typical in the Columbia Public kind of water system. It steps it down to 10 psi to make sure that we don't blow out our drip irrigation system. And then up above that we have a filter, and there are different sizes of the filter that will screen out the particles, and it's more important if you're pulling from a well or something that has more particles. But even in our case, basically the irrigation company will not provide a warranty if you don't install a filter upline from your irrigation system. And from that filter, it hooks up into the main hose line, and so everything else is pretty straightforward. Here we have the front part of our drip irrigation system, and leading into the system is just a standard hose line that I could take apart here really quickly and show you. That leads into our filter, and the filter is specific to our the tape that we have, and it has a special screen size that makes sure that particles don't run from the water and into our irrigation system. It's one of the biggest drawbacks of drip systems is that if they get plugged up, then they need special loving care to be able to take care of it. But make sure that you have a filter on your system in order to make sure you get those particulates out. And that leads us to a pressure converter that takes 50 psi and steps it down to 10 psi here, and that just makes sure that we're not blowing out our irrigation system down the line. And that leads into a converter from standard hose to 1/2-inch line, and these are screw locks, and I could just pretty easily take it apart, and I can show you how we snap it together again too. So these just lock into our 1/2-inch main line, and you tighten it that. Put our pressure converter back on and our filter. This down here at the bottom, this is actually a flush valve, and so you could flush out any of the particulates that get stuck there, and so it won't let you screw it on, but this is the right way to put it back together. And back to our hose line. So those are the top pieces of our drip irrigation system, and now we could show you how we go from the 1/2-inch main line to the tape that runs down the length of the bed. So we have our 1/2-inch main line here, and coming off of that we have our valves that we punch in with a 1/4-inch punch, and we run our tapes, or our drip tape, down the length of the bed. And so here's one of the valves that is separated here, and you just punch a hole. We did it about 6 to 8 inches between our lines, and you just pretty easily snap these in the 1/2-inch main line. And we have locking valves again on our tapes, and then you could just screw that down into place. And then the lines, you could hold them in place with these garden staples about 6 to 8 feet. And they're not necessary, but it just helps keep everything neat and in line. So we're down here at the end of our tape line, and this is a clip that you use just to kind of crimp it off at the end, and it, as you see, it pretty easily slips on and off. But wherever you want your line to stop, you just kind of fold it over. This holds it in place. I have one of those staples here. Again, I could line it up just so that the tape is lined up right next to, in this case, our onion plants. And we could just set it down there in the ground. You don't want to push it down too hard because you don't want to constrict the flow, but it just holds everything in place there.